There will be one more question for myself, and then I'm going to open it up to media questions. Before I get to my final ask here, just a quick heads up for media on the call. You can put yourself into the queue to ask a question by using the raise hand function, which I believe is on the lower menu of the Zoom interface. Coach Malone, one more for myself. Colby Barlow, the Cogeco OHL Player of the Week this past week. He's really playing well right now. Some of his best hockey we've seen all season. What does it mean to have him going for you?
Yeah, I mean, he's just another piece and part of our arsenal. I think for him, just the way he's been playing 200-foot game, getting a lot of top matchups and responsibilities defensively. So as much as he's putting the puck in the net, obviously the way he's defending and playing a 200-foot game is, critical for his development and critical for him as a part of a team game.
Just awaiting our first question here for those on the call. If you want to raise your hand, we do have one now, and we will begin with Brandon Caputo from the Armchair GM Sports Network. Brandon, go ahead.
My first question's for Coach Williamson, Marty. Good to talk to you again. You've been to this Eastern Conference Final 5 times as a coach in your career. You've been able to win 3 of them. Does it ever get old being able to play in these big games and these big moments to really showcase yourself on the biggest stage and really help the players grow and develop as they move on to other parts of their career, whether that be pros or what have you? Do these moments ever get old?
No, they never get old. It's one of the things we talked about. This is the best time of the year. You work all year to get into the playoffs, and we had a heck of a first round last year with Oshawa, and they were great 6 games. And as you said, to watch the development, of our players, and then to see players like Ben, to get drafted in the first round and his development to become such a dominant defenseman in our league. It's great to watch this kind of stuff. And as I said, it is the best time of the year. The hockey's fantastic. The emotion, the fan bases. This is what you work hard all year to try and accomplish.
I've got a quick one for Captain Beau Jelsma. Beau, your team's perfect at home this season in the playoffs, perfect 6-0 down there at the Sadlon Arena, and only one win on the road. What is it about playing at home that gives you guys such a boost? And you'll have home ice advantage in this series as well. But what is it playing in front of those home fans in Barrie that brings out the best in your team?
Yeah, we're just extremely comfortable in front of our fan base. We have such a, committed fan base here. They're loud every night, and through the whole year we've had, consistent, almost sold out crowds, and we just love playing in front of those people, and doing it for our city.
And one quickly for Coach Malone, if I can, Coach. Coming in the middle of the season's not an easy thing to do. Taking over as an interim head coach, what have been the assistants, helping you in that process, and bringing on a guy like Mario Pouliot, a 2-time Memorial Cup champion, as an associate coach? How has that kind of helped you and be able to get to this point?
Yeah, Mario's been huge. Patty and Farouj have been, instrumental in helping me transition from an assistant to, taking the lead on this team. I think Mario coming in with his experience, he's a great sounding board for us. He understands obviously the magnitude of the situation and what these players are going through on a daily basis. So for me as a young head coach here, obviously using as many assets as I can inside my network, and to have Mario on a day-to-day basis just to learn from him as a coach and again bounce things off him is critical for not just myself but everybody in that room.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brandon. Again, for those in the queue, if you'd like to ask a question, please use the raise hand function at the bottom of the Zoom interface. Next, we will go to Amber Weiss. Amber, you can go ahead.
So my first question is for Beau. Last year's outcome against the Generals didn't go in your favor. What's the team's mindset going into this year compared to last?
Last year, we gave everything we got, and we knew Oshawa was a really good team, and we gave them a good run, and we fell short, obviously. But going into this year, it's 2 great teams going at it, and we're gonna give everything we got. We know they're gonna give everything they got, and it just comes down to the small details, and who wants it more. So we're prepared. We want to win, and may the best team win.
Thank you. And one for Marty. What do you think is different from last year's team to the team that you've built today since then?
Well, last year we sold off players and finished in 8th place. This year's a different team. We added players. Our group is a year older, similar to the Oshawa group, and both teams were focused early in the year on being at this position that we're in. We knew the Eastern Conference was going to be tough. There's a lot of good teams in the East, but we both wanted to be here, and we built our teams that way. And I think we're both happy so far, and we know the challenge ahead of us.
Sorry about that, Gene. I guess I was on mute. Your mic's open.
I guess starting with Marty. Marty, both these teams have quite a lot of depth up front and on the back end. And in a series like this, how important is it that getting home ice in that last line change, much similar to the way it was with Kingston?
Well, we'll see. Right now, these are veteran teams. I think Oshawa can come and play in our building and not be too worried. And I think our team can go into their building and not be too worried. And, as coaches, we'll see if there's matches that we need or if there isn't, So, it'll start, on Friday, and we'll keep learning as each game goes on. But, I think both teams are quite comfortable with what they're at. And as you said, I think we both have deep hockey teams, and we'll see how we use our players.
Marty, just continuing. Obviously they got the big three, Barlow and Richie and Seneca, but Griffin has just really 11 goals already in these playoffs, and is a player that a lot of people expected would take that next step, and he seems to have really taken that next step here. And obviously, I'm sure he's one player you're going to have to keep an eye on.
Well, I'm a big fan of. I coached his dad, so I'm showing my age a little bit. But Brad was the guy that I knew in the draft. I stood beside his dad in his draft year, and I know what kind of a player he is. And it's funny how things. We only hear through the rumor mill, but he might have been traded somewhere. Probably the best trade they didn't make was him not leaving the team, and he's been outstanding for them. And they have more than a big three. They have a lot of good hockey players there. The Powell kids playing very well for them. Buckley was a guy that scored a lot of goals on us last year, and Torrance plays hard. Again, it's a deep hockey team. I love their blue line. It's as you said, we're going to watch Griffin, but there's a lot of guys to watch in that hockey team.
Brad, if you can speak to how Griffin just seems to really turn the corner here this season, and is the guy that a lot of people look to take that next step, and especially in these playoffs, he's coming up big. I think 11 goals, 12 games, and already halfway there to his regular season totals.
Yeah. Just for me, just the progression he's made is, credit to the work that he's put in. I think obviously with the size that he has right now, I think he has to use his IQ to the best of his ability. He's a great skater. We saw an opportunity to put him on the first power play unit with some of those other names that you mentioned, and just to put him in the bumper in that position, he really is able to use his mind and his skill in a quiet area in a small space. And right when we put him there was probably about the time that he started to take off 5-on-5 to gain some more confidence. And I think the chemistry that him and Barzy have started to develop has been a big part of that. Having him in the middle on a regular shift with him and Palsy, it's been a nice 1-2 punch for us in terms of rolling in their top six.
Hey, Brad, just, having an experienced guy back there like Jacob in net, and, what that, the confidence that gives the team, and, especially with his experience having gone through that long run last year, how nice is that to have a guy that, that night in and night out is going to be there?
Yeah, well, Marty can probably attest to this. You can't be in this position as a team without a good goaltender. So, obviously we got a ton of confidence in Ozzy. He saw a lot of starts over the year. We tried to manage his rest down the stretch, so we knew coming into these situations that he'd be at the top of his game and not trying to hold back in terms of practice and getting his reps that are crucial at this time of year. So Ozzy's a great goaltender, and obviously we're comfortable with making mistakes in front of him, but at the same time our big emphasis is trying to protect him as much as possible.
And Brad, again, Colby Barlow, obviously he was a player that was well thought by contending teams. You guys were able to get him. And just, again, the ability to add that kind of pure sniper and just everything he brings to your team.
Yeah, well, he's Danny's roommate now, so it's been having those two as kind of our leadership group, on a day-to-day basis coming into the rink together. Barzy has a lot of experience in terms of being the go-to guy. I think coming here, he's been insulated with a few more help or a few more helpers in terms of being a leader. I just think the way that he's developed as well, I go back to just talking about his 200-foot game. Obviously, everyone talks about the type of scorer he is, but for me, if he's going to play at the next level, he needs to play 200 feet, and he's really bought into the idea of that. And certainly, we're very happy to see him having the success that he has.
Thanks, Gene. We got one more from Brandon Caputo. Brandon, your mic's open.
Thanks. Just one question for Ben Danford. Ben, your decor back there with yourself, Luca Morelli, Luca D'Amato, and then Zach Sandu. Pick up a guy like Andrew Gibson at the trade deadline from the Sioux Greyhounds. What has been that decor's collective and making you guys successful, getting to this point, getting through two great offensive teams like Brampton and obviously Brantford last round, and knowing you've got some tall task ahead of you on the other side with Barrie, with that former battalion line with Wakely, Van Steensel, Romani. What gives you the confidence that your back end's going to be successful, and why they've been so successful for the first two rounds of this series?
Yeah, I think, just like you said, we have a really deep decor. We have guys that, are buying into their roles right now, whether, shutting down a line or, pitching in a little offensive well. Yeah, I think we just need to, keep continuing, defending hard, defending first, not shooting for offense. And like defense wins championships, that's kind of the mindset we've had as a team, not just as a decor, but, our forwards as well. So, the defense first and the offense comes. So, that's huge for us going over the series.
Thanks.
Again, with you guys, I felt that you guys really found your game later in that series against Kingston. It was kind of wild and open early on. But just speak to that, how you guys kind of, this team defensively has been its major strength, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. All year we've kind of taken a big pride into that. And I thought at the start of the series, we kind of got away from that against Kingston. And, I think we just kind of needed a reset. And, we came back down to earth and, kind of realized that, yeah, we're not going to get anywhere unless we play defense. So that's our mindset going forward. And, like exactly what Danford said, defense first and leads to offense. So that's our mentality also.